Fun show for you today. Adam Azer here. Forgot to take my glasses off. Gonna do that right now.
Oh, leave them on. Leave them on.
I think the light, the ring light gets in them. It looks kind of weird. Yeah, that's why I don't wear them. But welcome to a Thursday edition of Fantasy Football Today. We got buy or sell. Your buy or sells from Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. Appreciate all of those. We'll get to those in a minute. We have some podcast league entries that we'd like to share, including one pretty funny one that I enjoyed quite a bit. I am going through them now. I will let y'all know. If I don't respond to them, it's not because I didn't read them. I will read every single one of them, and I appreciate it. You still have a few days left. Actually, your deadline is tomorrow, Friday. Anything submitted after Friday, I will not accept, and the draft is Monday night.
Did that deadline just get determined in the last 15 seconds?
Yeah, kind of. Well, I knew the draft was Monday, but I'm going to have to make decisions this weekend. So fantasyfootball@cbsi.com, put podcast league in the subject line. You heard from Dave and Jamie. Let's jump right into the notes, guys, and jump right into buy or sell part one. This one is from David. Buy or sell Amon-Ra St. Brown as a top 5 wide receiver.
I'll buy it. He's number 6 for me, so it's not going to take much for him to get there. So I think there's he's going to be in the conversation for, top 10 for sure in receptions, if not more. 6-game head start, without significant competition for targets. If there's even going to be longer than that, we'll see how Jameson Williams does. But it's just an offense that's tailored for him. I think he'll score more touchdowns this season. So I think the idea of him not being an alpha type receiver, as someone might have said, is a little ludicrous. So the upside is there. The potential is there. 30-year wide receiver. He's got everything you look for.
I just have a hard time saying which of the top 5 or 6 receivers that we've got ranked ahead of him, depending on whose rankings you're looking at, is going to fall off. So he's got the potential to do it. There's no question. But there's a lot of other receivers: Jefferson, Chase, Kupp, Tyreek, Diggs, Lamb. Those guys all are top 5 wide receivers in PPR too. And a lot of them can pick up tons of yards and touchdowns. Not certain that St. Brown can do those things for sure.
I think you said 6, right? You said Jefferson.
I said 6.
Kupp,
Jamie said 5.
Yeah, Tyreek, Diggs, and you said Lamb was 6.
Right. It sounds like Jamie has Lamb ranked ahead of St. Brown. Or the opposite, St. Brown ahead of Lamb.
Yeah, I have St. Brown and A.J. Brown ahead of Lamb.
No, I think I brought this one up because I do see St. Brown going, in a PPR league, maybe back end of the first round, early second, going ahead of sometimes Stephon Diggs. And I don't think I ever see him go ahead of the top 4, rarely Diggs, but sometimes, but ahead of Lamb. Yeah, I brought it up because you said he has everything, or he does everything, whatever you said.
He has everything you need. He has yet to do the touchdowns.
Well, he doesn't do
touchdowns.
He doesn't do big plays. That's the difference. He hasn't done big plays. But yeah, I mean, will he? It's just not his profile. They've got to increase his ADOT. It's been incredibly low. He had one of the lowest ADOTs in football last year among qualified receivers. So that's the difference between him and like a CeeDee Lamb. You don't see like the occasional 40 to 50 yard touchdown catch from Amon-Ra St. Brown. And that's like, hold on. Let me just tell you this. I know, Dave, you want to jump in. He's the only wide receiver in the last 3 seasons to finish top 8 with an ADOT lower than 8.5 yards. That may be wrong because I feel like Deebo did it, but Deebo might have been the other, and that was the year Deebo had all the rushing too. But that's what I have. He's the only wide receiver in the last 3 years to finish top 8 with an ADOT lower than 8.5 yards. His ADOT was 6.5 yards last year. That's really low. So
how much does that change now?
Yeah, I brought that up because people are taking him over an explosive playmaker like A.J. Brown, a guy like CeeDee Lamb, and I want to know if you're okay with that. Jamie is? Dave?
I'd rather have Lamb. Lamb had more targets per game last year. Lamb had more PPR fantasy points per game than St. Brown last year. So to me, I just look at Lamb as just that playmaking type, the guy that could be wide receiver 1. And I'm going to take him over St. Brown, who I don't think can be wide receiver 1.
Yeah, that offense in Dallas is changing, and there's more competition for targets for him now. So that's why I like St. Brown better.
But that's just an Azer stat.
Real quick Azer stat. You take St. Brown. You have to remove 2 games for St. Brown. He played less than a third of the snaps in 2 games. If you took those games, he actually averaged more PPR points per game than Lamb. Slightly. However, if you just take the Dak games for Lamb, I think it's really close between the 2 of them. All right, next one from Michael. Buy or sell Romeo Doubs as a weekly starter at flex?
Bye.
Okay. Big riser, right?
What happened?
Big riser, Doubs?
Big riser.
Not big for me because I started in a place where I liked him as a flex in a 3-receiver flex league. So he was always right around wide receiver 40 for me.
Okay. I'll go to the next one, Dave. Buy or sell from Luis. Anthony Richardson as a second-round pick in a super flex redraft.
Depends on how risky you want to play it. If you think that he's going to be even close to where we have him ranked, then the answer is yes. You take that chance. If you'd rather have somebody with a safer floor because it's super flex and you don't want to be caught without at least quality quarterbacks in a format where you can start 2 quarterbacks, then maybe he goes into round 3. I think the later you get into round 2, the more willing you'd be to take Richardson, knowing that you've got another pick coming up soon after.
Amy, to you, buy or sell Anthony Richardson as a second-round pick in Superflex redraft.
I would consider him in round 1. You know, I mean, I think as we saw on the live stream that we did on Tuesday night, Scott Fish took him in round 1. You know, so there's most likely going to be 7 to 8 quarterbacks that go in the first round, and he's in that next group. So you know, if you're talking about, you know, Jefferson, Chase, McCaffrey, maybe Eckler go in the first round, maybe Kelce goes in the first round. He's right on the cusp. So yeah, easy second round pick. Again, you're playing to win. You're not playing to be safe.
Okay, but would you take Dak Prescott over him? Because Dak is safer, but also you can win with Dak Prescott.
Yeah, if you want to be, you know, safe. But again, you know, you're looking for upside. And if you expect him to do the things that he's capable of doing, which is to run, and that's the biggest part of it. Again, there's been 16 times since 2010 a quarterback has run for at least 700 yards. And all of them have scored at least 19.9 fantasy points per game or more. Every single one.
And 6 points.
So,
right?
In 6 point, you know, do the math for 4 point. Successful nonetheless. So that's what you're talking about with him. And so our projection on Sportsline has him for 1,039 yards. Heath said he has him, I think, for over 1,000 yards, if I'm not mistaken, or close to it. You know, so if you're expecting 700 yards, that's not very difficult for what this guy profiled. I think he ran for almost 700 yards in 12 games in Florida. There's not a big gap here for him to get there. If you don't think he's going to run, then don't draft him, because that's the thing. If you think they're just going to make him a pocket passer, then he's not going to be a good fantasy quarterback.
They would be nuts to do that. I don't
His
think
head coach just came from a situation where the quarterback ran for at least 750 yards the last 2 seasons. Better polished passer by far. Jalen Hurts. This is not comparing those two guys. I'm just talking about the guy on the offensive staff. So Shane Steichen's going to allow him to be who he is. And now if Jonathan Taylor's not there, that will probably be more rushing attempts, because the backfield's not going to be as solidified unless they do make a trade to bring somebody else in. But that's probably not going to happen.
Are you going to change your tune if Jonathan Taylor's back next week? And
No.
Okay,
I'm expecting Jonathan Taylor to be there at this point. You know, okay. the trade request and the compensation that they're looking for seems a little bit ridiculous. And the fact that they put the Tuesday deadline on it, which they need to because of how their roster construction has to go, it's going to be difficult. And I think that's why you're getting the report from the Dolphins about them looking to acquire also Josh Jacobs, because they're the most likely team. That's what Vegas is telling us as well. And if the Dolphins are not going to pony up to what the Colts want, no pun intended, then they're going to look at other avenues. So I think at this point, expect Jonathan Taylor to be there. Hope that he's not, you know, because I think we're all expecting, you know, better situation if he gets traded. But regardless, Anthony Richardson will be great no matter what if he runs from a fantasy perspective.
I'm wondering why Jamie wrote "say pony up" joke on his hand earlier today. I was like, what is he talking about? Good job. Way to drop it in there casually. All right, last one. Buy or sell. Last one for now. Buy or sell. Henry says there's more value to be had in the middle round running back values this year versus the wide receivers. More value in middle round running backs than wide receivers this year. Buy or sell?
Buy.
I think
receivers are getting pushed up. They're getting pushed up, and we're seeing that in every PPR draft we're doing, and I think we will continue to see it. And it's not just analyst drafts. I mean, you know, again, you could say these are the people that are watching us and listening to us. I'm in the FFT Open draft right now, and it was only 2 receivers in the flex, and it was still wide receiver crazy. It's just the nature of what the drafts are these days.
And yet I still think the drop off from like wide receiver 15 to wide receiver 30 isn't that much. And so you're going to find a bunch of those wide receivers in the middle rounds. I think a lot of those running backs will be gone.
What do you define as the middle rounds?
Yeah,
That's a good question.
I used
round 5 and on.
For this
5
one,
through 8.
5 and 8. Yeah, that's exactly what I use. 5 and 8. I put the players in the notes if you want to take a look at them. I think if I'm being sort of technical, I feel like in round 5, the receivers are better. I'm using Fantasy Pros ADP, and I'm looking at guys like Hopkins, McClaurin, DJ. Well, not for us, McClaurin. Hopkins, McClaurin, DJ Moore, Jerry Jeudy, Christian Watson. But once you get past
we're not seeing that though.
We're not seeing that in our leagues, but that's what ADP is saying. As I said on the show yesterday, or whenever we did the pick-by-pick thing, ADP says that there are better receivers in round 5 than the ones that exist in all of our drafts because tight ends and quarterbacks go earlier than we take them.
So what I've seen in the last 3 PPR drafts that we've done in the first 4 rounds, it's been basically 25. I think twice it happened in the first 4 rounds. Wide receivers gone.
Those are all like CBS, our staff, our listeners.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's people that are watching it, but I would like to think that that's what most. I mean, go back to the NFC drafts, right? NFC ADP, what we were looking at earlier.
Yeah, NFC
running backs were falling like crazy.
Look, if I look at Fantasy Pros and I look at Draft Sharks, I look at round 5, DJ Moore, Jerry Jeudy, Christian Watson, they're all there. Hopkins is at pick 410 on draft.
And what kind of running backs are there?
Solid ones, but Miles Sanders, Damian Pierce is at the 4-5 turn, J.K. Dobbins, Alexander Madison.
So what you're seeing though is the quarterbacks and tight ends going sooner.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what ADP
suggests. I wonder how much that's going to happen though in 2 weeks with Hawkinson dealing with a back injury and people concerned about Pitts and people still not buying into Waller
with Hawkinson.
I mean, he's got a back injury.
Right. Does he really have one, or is this a holdout?
Could be. I mean, I haven't seen anything about that.
All right. I just okay. To sum it up, I think it's actually pretty even. I don't know that there's a huge advantage between running backs and wide receivers, but I like the values. I guess as we get later into the mid rounds, I think I like the Rashad White, Alexander Madison, DeAndre Swift, Javonte Williams, James Cook, David Montgomery, Isaiah Pacheco. I think I like that better than Godwin, Lockett, Ayuk, Evans. I don't know. No, I don't think so. I don't think I have an answer for this buy or sell. I don't know where their better value is. I think there's good value at both positions.
I think there's less question marks at the wide receiver spot than there are at the running back spot. And the guys you just named, there's so many more question marks at running back.
I didn't say Christian Kirk and Deontay Johnson, though. They're also in that mix. I stopped saying because we like them better than a lot of those guys, and their ADP is later. So yeah. All right. Let's talk about the Draftathon next Wednesday, 4 to 10 p.m. Eastern. You still have time to get into our podcast league, the Podcast Leftovers League. Go to tinyurl.com/FFT donate. tinyurl.com/FFT donate. $1,250. Bidding ends tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you want in that podcast league, remember, everything goes to St. Jude. Guest appearance on the Draftathon. We also have that up for auction at that same URL. It's up to $202.50 right now. Let's raise a lot of money there. All of it's going to St. Jude. Please do that. If you want to join the podcast league, put podcast league in the subject line and put an email fantasyfootball@cbsi.com. The draft is Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Thomas Schaefer, let's take a look or take a listen to one of our submissions.
I'm really encouraged by what I've seen from Ron Rivera's unit.
It's the game of the week, yeah. The Bills visiting the Ravens. Game of the week, yeah. All right, Buffaloes and Baltimore.
Heath, what do you think about the game of the week song?
It's undisputed that it is super elite.
There you go. Thank you for that awesome entry. I thought that was a lot of fun. We have some clever ones coming in, poems, jokes, things like that. Appreciate it. And we have some spots left to be given out. All right, let's take a break here. And when we come back, at the end of the show, I'm going to share an email from Blake, who is in the podcast league. He got in the podcast league. He's got a story to tell, and I will read that a little bit later. And we'll take a break. And when we come back, we've got your news and notes. We've got some more games to play, some more buy or sell. We'll be right back. Injuries, news, and notes. So Jamie mentioned it. Jonathan Taylor has until Tuesday to find a trade partner. And if you were betting right now, Jonathan Taylor will be on the blank this year.
Colts.
Okay. Kansas City defensive tackle Chris Jones hinted on X or Twitter that he might hold out until mid-season. Says he can afford it. It's a lot of money to give up, but he's a terrific player.
So what did he say? He comes back week 8?
Yeah.
Plays only
9.
8 games?
Yeah. He misses week 8. I don't know.
So this is how it works. In order to get credit for this year on your contract, you have to play at least 6 games. But if you come back with 6 games to go, a team can put you on a list where you can't actually like count against the roster. They basically suspend you for 2 weeks. They have that option. So you've got to come back 2 weeks before that in case the team does decide to put you on that suspended list. So that's a move Jonathan Taylor could make too, by the way, where they can both say, all right, look, I want a new contract. You're not paying me. I still want to get credit for the year that I have to play. I'm going to show up in week 8 or 9 or 10, whatever it is, because of the buys. That would sting with Taylor if you draft him in round 2, round 3, or wherever, and he only plays half the year.
It would sting. Yep. And the Raiders have shown no interest in trading Josh Jacobs, according to Tom Pelissero. Jackson Smith and Jigba is a long shot for week 1, according to Ian Rappaport. Carolina wide receiver DJ Chark has a hamstring injury. That's an interesting one, Jamie. Does that shuffle your Carolina wide receiver rankings at all?
Yeah, at this point, I think the only one, the first one you should be drafting is Mingo, just with the potential of the upside. I think you can see what the floor is for Adam Thielen, and he'll be probably more of a go-to guy, but is he going to help you win a fantasy league? If Jonathan Mingo hits, there's a better chance of that happening. So I would rather take a flyer on Mingo where you're drafting these guys.
TJ Hawkinson is maybe dealing with lower back stiffness. He has a contract issue. TJ Hawkinson has the sniffles. All right, TJ Hawkinson is tight end blank for you.
Still 4.
I believe he's 3 for me.
Okay. Sam Darnold is the backup quarterback for the 49ers, and they are evaluating what to do with Trey Lance. Dave, what should we do with Trey Lance in our dynasty leagues?
You're going to hold him. The only way you don't hold him is if someone offers you, I think you would take a second. You might not get that offer, though. You might get lowballed on Trey Lance. Only if you're like really stuck or you're rebuilding, should you even think about trading him. Just sit on him and see what happens. But it's a bad scene for him for sure.
Minnesota should be calling. Tampa Bay should be calling. I mean, any of these teams that have these free agent quarterbacks or unsettled quarterback situations, it's not going to take much. Atlanta.
Okay. Buffalo offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey said that James Cook has improved as a blocker. It's been a terrific training camp.
We've seen it.
Season for Cook. Mm-hmm. Chicago head coach Matt Eberflus said that Khalil Herbert hasn't done anything to lose the job. Would you guys rather have DeAndre Swift or Khalil Herbert?
Herbert.
Would you rather have Khalil Herbert or Alexander Madison?
Madison.
All right. And Corey Davis is retiring, Jets wide receiver. Zach Rosenblatt of The Athletic thinks that Randall Cobb will play a bigger role than expected. Don't draft Randall Cobb, right?
No.
Okay. Let's try this segment out for size. I'm going to give you, it's going to be like a 7-minute segment. All right. It's called 5 Quick Questions. Question number 1. If James Cook is going to have a bigger role and the Bills want Josh Allen to run less, why isn't anyone afraid to draft Josh Allen?
He'll still be very good as a passer. So if you want to drop him down to 3rd, that's your decision. I still think he's going to run enough that you'll be very happy with him. So he's still the number 2 quarterback for me.
So what would a bad season for rushing look like for him? Besides the obvious of like 100 yards, like that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, 3 years.
Does he have 8 touchdowns rushing this year? I mean, even if James Cook is really good, that's the one area where I think it wouldn't be him. It would be Damian Harris or Latavius Murray that they would try to cram in there at the goal line. Yeah. But when they get in the red zone and a play breaks down, Josh Allen's running. They're not going to want him to stop.
Okay. He rushed for like 400.
Five moderately quick questions.
Yeah. A few years ago, and he was QB 1 or 2. All right. Next question. Give me one good reason why this isn't a question. This is a demand. Give me one good reason why I should draft Dalton Schultz.
Safe floor at the tight end position.
Red zone weapon in an offense that doesn't have a clear-cut number one target yet.
But he's not a top 12 tight end for me, so I wouldn't draft him as a starter.
Yeah, he's moved way down for me too.
Okay.
You had him as a breakout candidate at one point.
I did, but it feels like a year ago.
Thanks for reminding him, Jamie. Jets offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett has been an OC or an HC, offensive coordinator or head coach, for 9 seasons. Here's where Hackett's offenses have ranked in scoring: 22nd, 18th, 25th, 5th, 31st, 15th, 1st, 10th, and 32nd. With Aaron Rodgers, his offenses were 15th, 1st, and 10th in scoring. The question is, are you worried about Nathaniel Hackett and the Jets offense?
No.
No, but I'm not overly excited about them either.
Okay.
The only guy I'm overly excited about is Garrett Wilson.
People are worried about Travis Etienne losing goal line work and passing downs work. Are you worried?
No.
I'm still drafting him as a low-end RB1. I think he could see an uptick in passing work. Why wouldn't they want to use him in that role? That baffles me. The goal line stuff I buy into. I don't think he's going to have a lot of short yardage touchdowns, but he's got speed to have some long yardage touchdowns.
And the usage could be an issue, but he was very good last year despite only scoring 5 touchdowns.
Right.
Yeah. So rank Gibbs, Etienne, Stevenson.
In what format?
Full.
Gibbs, Stevenson, Etienne.
I have Etienne, Gibbs, Stevenson, and Etienne and Gibbs are back-to-back.
Half.
Etienne, Stevenson, Gibbs.
Etienne, Gibbs, Stevenson.
I was actually asking you just to say half of their name. But that's fine. Half. Eat Gibbs, Steve. Who are 2 players that you find yourself drafting a lot?
J.K. Dobbins and Justin Fields.
Getting a lot of Jaylen Warren and Roshan Johnson.
All right, beautiful. And a bonus question. There is an obvious difference between a bust list and an avoid list, right?
Correct.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell us what that is, Jamie?
A bust list is players who you think are going to fail. An avoid list is players that you won't draft no matter where they fall.
Ooh, that's kind of not really what I was thinking.
Well, if you're avoiding them, you're avoiding them.
If there's a player that you won't take no matter what, wouldn't he show up on your bust list?
I mean, the 2 could be mutually consistent, yes. But I think if you're saying I'm avoiding them, then I am not drafting them.
Tim in our chat says, Adam, tell Jamie he's on the clock. Jamie, you're on the clock in FFT Open.
Sweet. Let's see
Someone
what's
had a
available.
great comment about the avoid list. The avoid list is it's not you, it's me list. It's almost like I don't want to hold it against the player. Just something about him just doesn't. I'm just not feeling it with that guy. That's how I interpreted the avoid.
If you are saying I'm avoiding a player, that means you are never going to draft him.
That's not.
I don't care where he falls. Yes, avoid is avoid.
Okay, but
not maybe I'll take him. He's a maybe list.
So you think avoid is being on the avoid list is worse than being on the bust list?
Yes, of course. If you're saying the word avoid is not drafting. That's what that means. Avoid.
I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I do know what avoid, is that how you pronounce it, means. But Schaefer would back me up on this. Avoid is not as bad as being on the bust list. The avoid list is like, I'm fine with you where you are at your ADP. I would tell other people to draft you there, but you're just not for me. I'm just not that into you. That's avoid.
That means you're not drafting ever. Avoid.
No, if he falls 2 rounds, I'll draft him.
Let's look at the definition of
and you're not avoiding him.
Oh, of course I'm avoiding him.
You're going to take him at value. That means you see that there's a good value on him.
Let's play name that
I
player.
can't believe we're still talking about this.
Let's play name that player. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Jamie, you want to make your pick first? Want to tell everybody what you're doing there? FFT Open.
So my team is I'm very excited about my team so far. It's
a great team.
Justin Herbert, Bijan Robinson, Jaylen Waddle, Calvin Ridley, TJ Hawkinson, and Deebo Samuel. I know I'm a second running back right now.
Awesome.
So the running back pool has dried up. So I'm going to probably spend some draft capital now on the running back spots. So I'm going to take Khalil Herbert as my second running back here and hope for the best to see what comes back.
All right. Let's play Name That Player. 2 rounds of Name That Player. First player. He is Should I do it in the first person or the third person?
Let's talk about it for 6 minutes.
He's RB23 in CBS ADP, but RB31 in Fantasy Pros and Draft Sharks PPR ADP. His first name is pretty lame, and his last name is a southern city. He is moving to a division rival after 4 seasons with the team that drafted him. He might be the only player projected to lead his team in carries, but being drafted behind a running back from the same team.
Dave.
Yes, Dave.
David Montgomery.
Yeah, you got it from his first name is pretty lame, right? It is David Montgomery.
David is a lame name, but Dave is an awesome name.
That's true. That's
My mom will disagree.
My brother's name is David and Dave, so I don't believe that to be true. That it's lame. Anyway, we haven't talked about David Montgomery in a while. Have you guys moved him at all in your ranking? Where is he? Guy with awesome first name, Dave. Where's David Montgomery for you?
He is a round 6 pick for me. I am moderately excited about him just because of the touchdown potential. I like him obviously better in leagues where catches don't count, and I'm definitely taking Jahmyr Gibbs significantly ahead of him. Could he score double-digit touchdowns this year? Yeah. Could he have 1,000 total yards with it? Maybe. I think that's in the profile, but even with that, that doesn't make him anything better than like a mid to low end RB2. So he's to me, he's one of the settle for running backs. So if you're drafting like Jamie in the FFT Open and you're loaded at everywhere and you're going hero RB, Montgomery's a great running back to settle for as your RB2 to begin the year.
Jamie, I don't know if Montgomery was available when you took Khalil Herbert, would you have taken Montgomery?
No, 100% would have taken Montgomery. Yeah, I think he's more of a flex in full PPR. He's a borderline starter in half PPR, and he's a definite starter in non-PPR.
All right, next, name that player. He has never had a passer rating of 100 or better. And for reference, in a
game or in his career?
In a season. In the last 3 seasons, there have been 10, 8, and 6 quarterbacks who have had a passer rating of 100 or higher. Okay. He went to college in a town that has the same name as the dad from American Pie and Schitt's Creek. In his last 2 seasons,
his real name?
Yes, his real name. In his last 2 seasons, he was QB3 per game and QB15 per game. You should know it by now.
QB3 and QB15.
Who's the actor who plays?
I am total. Oh, I know his name.
Okay,
I got his name. So
what college is that?
Oh, it's Justin Herbert.
Yeah, Eugene Levy.
Yep.
We
both blinked on Eugene Levy. Somehow I got it before you did.
Curious to know, Jamie, you have Justin Herbert. If you have the draft results up in your league, do you remember how did he go ahead of Justin Fields? Because he's going ahead of Justin Fields in several different ADPs. Justin Herbert, we're talking about here. How far away from Joe Burrow did he go? You're not really getting much of a discount this year after the QB 15 finish last year per game. Maybe you shouldn't, but just curious where he went in your league when you took him.
He was the 6th quarterback off the board, so he went after Fields and after Burrow.
Do you feel like there is an appropriate?
No, I'm sorry, 7th quarterback. 7th quarterback.
Okay. Do you feel like there's an appropriate discount this year for Herbert?
Well, considering we were drafting him in some cases as the number 2 quarterback last year, ahead of Mahomes, there are some people that had it ranked that way. I think that it's a discount. Yes, for 2 of his 3 seasons being a top 5 guy, it's hard to overlook what he can be. Still, better offense coordinator, better weapons around him. If everybody stays healthy, hopefully his offensive line as well, and him. I mean, that rib injury was significant. He talked about this. I heard him. I believe it was on Colin Cowherd's radio show that he was saying he had to change his arm angle because of the pain. So, better mechanics, better weapons, better coaching, all those things. He's got number 1 quarterback upside. That's the type of player he is.
All right, so we only have 1 segment left. It's been a very short episode today, which is fine, but I'm going to open things up to you guys before we take a break, and then we'll finish up with buy or sell. Is there anything we have a lot of listeners right now. It's like prime time for us. Maybe people who haven't been listening before, just coming in now. Is there anything that's
good that you're prepared?
As you've been, I mean, I could ask you some questions, but as you've been doing drafts recently, anything you'd like to say about strategies, about trends, things that you're doing, players that you've been more likely to maybe reach for, or players on your avoid list, which is in some cases worse than a bust list, in some cases better than a bust list. But you can think about it. We could take a break, which, for us at live is like a half a second break anyway. But is there anything, I mean, Dave, is there anything any words of wisdom you want to give right now?
I think that this year will mirror last year in terms of, I mean, every year is just crazy and unpredictable in football, but there are going to be very few like mega stars for fantasy. The guys that are getting you 20 PPR points per game, the quarterbacks that are getting you 30 points per game. And I think I think building depth might be the way to go instead of shooting for a ton of like, I hope this rookie running back hits, or, I watched this guy play in a preseason game. He looked good. I'm going to take him late. Just keep on working to build that quality depth and to find those players that you think can give you quality depth this year. Because I think we're going to need it. And I don't think it's going to be such a bad thing, because the difference between the guys that are quality depth and kind of sort of wide receiver 2s won't be that different, or even RB 2s.
Anything from you, Jamie?
No, I think it just depends on, if you're, I don't like the, what is it? Win or lose strat. What is the way that we phrase it?
For what?
First or last, if you're just playing.
Late? No. If you're not like,
if you're not first or last, so you got to play.
Yeah. I don't think that's the mindset you should have, but I think if we're just talking draft strategy, there's so many players. I want to go back and look at this, like over the last few years of our leagues, and I'll maybe just pick one or two of where are the rounds of the players that we're dropping guys, because I think it's going to be a majority of those, probably, I'll say round 7 through the end of the draft is where the majority of your drops are coming from in your
early
league.
On, yeah.
And not, I think just over the course of the season, but we'll say the first half of the season. Stop settling for mediocrity. That's the point where you should be taking players that have the most upside.
Mm-hmm. And that is why, transition to one of my thoughts, I don't think you guys are going to agree with me on this. I'm getting more excited about DeAndre Swift. I see a huge...
Because if he hits, yeah, sure.
Because Penny just seems to be having no momentum right now.
He might get cut.
Yeah, and it's like Gainwell has 131 carries in his career. His longest carry is 18 yards, 121 carries. DeAndre Swift is an absolute explosive stud playmaker, and I love his value. Let me read, Jamie, some of the 7th round picks from our Fantasy Football Today League last year. I'll read all of them. Brandon Ayuk, Nico Collins, Robert Woods, Antonio Gibson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Dalton Schultz, Kyler Murray, Adam Thielen, Kareem Hunt, Tony Pollard, good one, Rashad Penny, Devontae Smith. You want to talk about drops? There were a lot of drops in there. Nico Collins, Robert Woods, Clyde, Gibson was probably dropped, Thielen, Kareem Hunt was terrible.
I don't think Gibson was dropped because he got off to a good start.
He may have been dropped at some point in the year, but yeah, okay, maybe not. But he was a fine pick in round 7. He wasn't terrible. He wasn't good.
Well, especially we didn't, I don't remember the Fantasy Football Today draft. We usually do it toward the end, but we weren't sure of Brian Robinson's status at that point.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Right. He was a riser there. So you're right. I mean, you're going to see a lot of drops. Kadarius
do one more round. Do one more round.
Hopkins was suspended. You took him at the first pick of round 8. Kadarius Toney, Drake London, Tom Brady. That guy, he sunk my team that year. Amari Cooper. This is a good round. Ramondre Stevenson, Devin Singletary, TJ Hawkinson, Tyler Lockett, Miles Sanders, George Pickens, Damian Harris. Damn, round 8 was good. And then there was the Tom Brady pick. And then after that, you're going to see a lot of drops for sure.
So maybe it's a little bit after round 7, but I think you get the point. It's like, once you start to get to this spot in the draft, it's, when you're talking about, okay, is this the best player because I'm going to get consistent production, or is this the best player that could help me win my league? Because you should have your base of your team at this point, and the core of your roster. And so those are the players that still have upside, but also give you a safer floor. And now it's like, okay, how can I just significantly enhance my team? because you're probably playing the waiver wire with half these guys at this point anyway.
Right. And look at the next 5 picks or 6 picks. And look at how much better the rookies were, at least 2 of the 3. Hunter Renfrow, Chris Olave, Treylon Burks, Michael Gallup, Cordarrelle Patterson, Ken Walker. I mean, maybe this is a case to take an exciting rookie over some crusty veteran.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
All right. Now let's take a break. Great segment, guys. Thank you for carrying.
I mean, so well produced.
I just have so much faith in you that I feel like I can just throw it to you and get a great segment out of it.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
Buy or sell part 2 when we come back. All right, buy or sell part 2. This is from Dan. Buy or sell Bijan Robinson losing up to 40% of his workload to Tyler Algier.
I will buy that if the mindset is let's tank for Caleb.
Which I don't think they'll do that unless they start the year 0-5. No, he's 40% of the run game will not go through Tyler Algier.
No, he said workload, not just run game, workload. So
well, you got to define what the workload is. Like, what do we expect his workload to be? And then you deduct 40% from that.
I would anticipate in terms of if it's just Tyler Algier, he's getting more than 60% of the Falcons running back touches.
Right. Yeah. And you know what? It might be a kind of an unfortunate split early in the season, but I could see it changing pretty quickly. Because, Tyler Algier started in last week and he was involved in the first drive. It's going to happen.
Yes.
But I'm gonna borrow an analogy from our coworker Bryant McFadden when he was describing Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. One is a Ferrari and one is a station wagon.
I was just about to do something like that.
One is going to be just amazing, and the other one is going to be fine. It'll get you where you need to go. But what would you rather have, the Ferrari or the station wagon?
You just don't see station wagons these days. When was the last time you saw?
You see SUVs.
That's true. All right, we'll go minivan. One's a minivan, one's a Ferrari.
Didn't they have a station wagon in Harry and the Hendersons? I feel like
yes. What a great movie that is.
I always think of station wagons and Harry and the Hendersons. Okay.
Yeah, because when he's doing the siren, when he's holding his head out the window.
I don't remember anything.
Such a great movie.
Jesse says, buy or sell Terry McLaurin 1,000-yard season for the 4th straight year.
Man, it's tough now with the injury. He may miss some time, and I'm going to sell. That doesn't mean he won't be good, but I'm going to sell.
If he gets 1,000 yards over 15 games, that means he's got to get about 67 yards a game. Yeah, I think I'd sell that too. It's going to be
the only reason is he's already dealing with something, and you're just factoring in there might be another injury along the way.
Right. We don't know how bad this something is. Turf toe has been a B word for players in the past.
Yeah, a bother, a real bother. You're
a
right.
Big bother. Thank you for saying that.
Buy or sell from Pete. Joe Mixon is headed for a down season.
So,
I hope we're selling. I mean, it's somebody that we've certainly run up the flagpole in terms of his ADP.
Yeah. All right. From Justin, buy or sell Deebo Samuel as a top 10 wide receiver.
Sell.
Easier to buy in non-PPR, but it's a sell either way.
I don't know, man. Brock Purdy absolutely loves Deebo Samuel.
Does.
He did last year. He
True.
did one drive in the preseason. He fits Brock Purdy perfectly.
No games over, maybe one game over 60 yards with Purdy.
Is that right? A lot of
Out
cats.
of 3?
Yeah.
I think out of 4
or 5 games. No, 5 games if you include the playoffs. In 5 games with Purdy, including the playoffs, 6.8 targets per game, 4.4 catches per game, 3.2 carries per game, 13.8 PPR points per game.
All right, that's not top 10. It's
No.
good though.
Yeah.
Buy or sell from Nick. Jaylen Warren will replace Najee Harris as the starting running back by week 7 after their bye.
Everybody's healthy?
Yep.
So
I'll buy it.
Oh, okay.
Let's go. He's more explosive, better pass catcher out of the backfield, maybe the better blocker as well. It could get messy between those two all year, but I think he might be a little bit of a better fit for what the Steelers' offense is going to be. And I think if you draft Najee, you've got to hope that he has double-digit touchdowns this season.
From Moon, buy or sell. The Pittsburgh backfield could be similar to Dallas last year.
It's kind of what I just said, right? Like if Najee's getting a ton of touchdowns, then he's in that Zeke role. I don't know if Jaylen Warren can be Tony Pollard, though. Pollard was averaging almost 16 PPR points per game. I will sell that they will be like Dallas's backfield.
The comparison is dead on. The production will not be.
Right. From Thomas, buy or sell. Sam LaPorta and Dalton Kincaid end up as top 10 tight ends.
Buy.
I will sell because I don't know if LaPorta can do it. I think LaPorta can be a good starter to begin the year. You take the chance with him, kind of treat him like he's a streaming tight end. But I don't know. Once everybody's back in Detroit, and if Jahmyr Gibbs is rolling, I don't know how productive he'll be. I do believe Kincaid can make it.
The thing that's nice is, and we talk about this all the time, Adam, you certainly have done a good job illustrating this over the years. Rookies get better as the season goes on. And so if he's off to a good start, then that's going to, I think, carry through.
Yeah, I always look at Kincaid as someone who's starting to go earlier in drafts than the rankings. He's kind of like an Anthony Richardson case.
Not based on our ADP.
Okay. Just the drafts I've been seeing lately. Take Kincaid early because you can get, if you miss out on Evan Ingram or something, then you fall back on Juwan Johnson to pair with Kincaid. It just makes sense to get this high upside guy at Kincaid. But the problem is, this just got to know the buy or sell was top 10 for 2 rookie tight ends. There have been 2 rookie tight ends that have done that in the last 8 years combined. And probably even goes further back than that. I've only looked at the last 8 years. That was Evan and Kyle Pitts.
I just wonder how many times have we seen 2 guys in this type of opportunity?
I think we see it. I think
2 rookies in this type of opportunity.
Well, how good are these opportunities, though?
Fantastic.
I
Absolutely.
think they're quality. They're going to play a lot. They should get decent targets.
LaPorta's opportunity is actually better than what Kincaid
to begin the year. I think I'd agree with you.
But we're talking about Jameson Williams coming back. They don't do the same thing at all. So Jameson Williams is
mouth
just
to feed.
Yeah, but I think that mouth just replaces Adam's favorite player in Josh Reynolds or maybe Marvin Jones. I think that's just what's happening. I don't think it's LaPorta's role is changing. He's still going to be the starting tight end.
Yeah. I think it is. You're probably right. This is a pretty unique situation. Target opportunities on good offenses. All right. Next buy or sell is from.
Do you think LaPorta could be second on the Lions in targets this year?
Yeah.
I don't know if either of these guys can be second on their teams.
I don't think Kincaid can. I think LaPorta can. You're talking about stepping into a role. If you're just looking at what this offense was a year ago, they lost 6.5 targets per game. They traded T.J. Hawkinson. The guys that they had behind him are not LaPorta. They certainly weren't Hawkinson. And so they drafted this guy early in the second round to be that type of player. So 6.5 targets can easily be second on the team because Amon-Ra St. Brown is getting close to 10. He's certainly going to be over 9. So if you're talking about how the targets can be distributed, he may be 8 targets per game. He's got that type of ability.
Oh, got a trade. Isaiah Simmons. What was he?
Wow.
They traded Simmons, huh?
To the.
Oh, wow. What a steal for your team.
To the New York Giants for a 7th
round pick. That's unbelievable.
Not really. If a guy's been a bust so far and getting traded for a 7th round pick.
That's why you're buying well.
Gamble. It's worth a gamble.
Of course.
Yeah. That's wild, man. A 7th round pick.
That's it. That's
awesome. The athletes that you guys have on defense now. Thibodeau, him, that's incredible.
Yeah, and Xavier McKinney. They got and their 1st round pick, Deonte Banks. All right. Don't forget Dexter Lawrence. Buy or sell from Scott. Travis Kelce is oh my God, the Giants are gonna be amazing. Buy or sell Travis Kelce as a top 5 pick.
Cardinals are gonna be terrible. Well, they were gonna be terrible either way. Sell. He's not. I wouldn't take him as a top 5 pick.
It's funny. So I'm doing this are supposed to be quarterback tight end week. I think we kind of lost the headlines on how our weeks were supposed to go. But I did sleepers, breakouts, and busts. That'll be on the site today. And I led the whole story with Kelce, just how good he's been since 2018. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And the hope is that he doesn't fall off. That's really the only concern. If he doesn't fall off, 16 PPR points or better for 5 straight seasons. 4 of those, he's been the number 1 tight end. It's just incredible what he does. And so if he replicates anything, and last year the only difference was first year with Mahomes without Tyreek Hill. If he replicates that, is he 5 points better than the field? And if he's 5 points better than the field of his position, yes, he's worth a top 5 pick.
How do you guys like this team in a full PPR league? Oof, I don't really like it that much. Jaylen Hurts, Joe Mixon, Miles Sanders, Travis Kelce. That's pretty good.
So it's going to come down to the receivers.
Marquise Brown.
How many do you start?
3 and a flex.
Marquise Brown,
Zay Flowers, Chris Godwin, Juju Smith-Schuster.
Ugh.
Yeah, that was a team that took Kelce 4th overall last night. I don't like this team. I'm not, but I've seen a team. We did a few nights ago on Tuesday night. We did a draft where, no, it couldn't have been that. That was
that was super flex. Yeah,
we did a draft where Kelce went 3rd, I think.
And it was the previous really Tuesday.
Yeah, we ended up as a really good team. And if you like Jonathan Taylor, you might be able to get him in the 3rd round, or Josh Jacobs. So
I think that was the draft where it went Kelce, if I'm not mistaken, was one of our St. Jude donation winners. I think it was when he took Olave early in round 2, if I'm not mistaken, or earlier than we thought, and then Deebo Samuel early in round 3. So I think those are the first 2 picks. I think we said the theory was great.
Yeah, it could have worked. All right, that's it for buy or sell. Let me read an email to play us off. This is from Blake. Blake said, longtime listener. This was a podcast league submission. Longtime listener, pre-Nando even. Your show, while silly and goofy, has always been there to take the edge off when I've needed it. I live a very stressful life, and levity and comedy while packing in fantasy content is invaluable. I am a retired Army infantryman who saw combat in Afghanistan. After that, I joined the state police and worked on the road as a patrol for 8.5 years, mostly on midnights and evenings, 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. Lots of boring, lonely hours, occasionally spiked with adrenaline rushes that can't be described. For the past 2 years, I've been working, I'm sorry if I pronounce this wrong, as a ballistician with the state police, where my job consists of going to crime scenes where firearms are involved and making sure everything is safe and recovering evidence. I then test the evidence to include using microscopes to match up bullets or casings at scenes to the bad guys' firearms. Lots of rough scenes at late nights. In addition, I'm a member of the CERT team, Special Emergency Response Team, where we primarily deal in missing and lost subjects, mostly in the woods. Lots of long hours spent humping through the woods to find lost or actively fleeing subjects. Again, having a podcast like yours to throw on during dark moments is something I really appreciate. I've been an avid fantasy player since 2012. My first league ever, I was deployed in Afghanistan with maybe 20 minutes of internet access a week, and I came in first place on the back of Calvin Johnson and Matthew Stafford, undefeated from a war zone, baby. Wow. Today, I play in a league with 9 other cops, and your advice has spurred me on to 5 championships in 11 years. Currently, yours is the only G-rated podcast I can listen to while driving my 2 kids around. My son constantly mocks me for never making it into one of the leagues. I'd really love to
Blake.
Rub it in my 10-year-old's face. Love your work. Keep it up. Hamburgers are made on a grill or a cast iron. You're in the league, Blake. Welcome.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Puts things in perspective, and I'm glad that we are able to be a source of entertainment, comedy, and escape, I guess, for a lot of people. So thanks for the email. Thanks to all of you so far for your submissions to the podcast league, and we'll fill it out by the weekend. And then we have that other podcast league, by the way, the Leftovers League, where you can bid on, and some of you will end up in that league as well. All right, to Jamie and Dave and Schaefer, thanks. Have a great day, everybody. We'll talk to you later on Fantasy Football Today.